Hello, everybody. How are you today? We are popping on to have a show with you guys tonight. Here's Jera. Hi, Jera.
Hello, hello. Oh, I'm Chloe. I was trying to get some video here. How are you?
Good. So I thought tonight we would just have kind of a miscellaneous show. And so let's see here. We got to introduce our next co-host. So give me 1 second. Without further ado, the man of the hour.
The guy with a million Hawaiian shirts. What shirt is he wearing today?
You all know him. You all love him. The one and only Enzo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. I see you. Hello. Yes.
Hi, Enzo.
Well, I see you brought a crowd of people with you.
Yeah, they are very excited. You can see the lady back here singing a song. She is very excited to be back.
She's into it, isn't she? Look at that. How funny.
Well, she's part of the band. So.
Oh, okay.
It is Thursday night.
This is the Elbow Room Bar in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Oh, they're having fun.
They're having a grand time.
Yeah, they are. Oh, that's cool. So I like the black and white. I like the black and white.
It's a little different. This one was next up in the rotation of things to wear for online appearances. And my joke is usually this would be my paranormal investigator type shirt. Even though a couple of weeks ago when I went to the haunted house place, this is not what I wore. But mostly because all the paranormal investigators that go to all the haunted houses and stuff, they're always wearing black t-shirts with white writing on it with whatever their group name is. And so this is as close as I can come to that model.
So you went to, how was that experience?
It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, experienced a lot of super weird stuff. It was funny because we actually spent the night in the house. And it got to be about like 4:30 or so in the morning when we finally all right, everybody pick their spots. We're just going to go to sleep. And it was by that time, we'd already, because we started around like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the afternoon. So we'd seen a lot already. But by that time, it's like I ended up just like finding a couch and just kind of like leaning back and kind of doom scrolled a little bit on my phone because I was super wide awake. But it was so old hat by that time of hearing footsteps running up and down the stairs or running around on the second floor above me. I was on the ground floor. That it was just like, heard it, seen it. No big deal.
Really? How weird. Did it feel like scary or just like there was just activity?
It was mostly just activity. I never at all felt like I was being threatened or any kind of like evil forces or anything like that or anything with animus towards anybody. But did a lot of stuff. Basically, it was like 3 different groups, which they were all friends. We're all friends together. With very different styles of doing, their investigations. So I went around and like spent time with each of the groups in different parts of the house because this house is gigantic, and I even got to participate. One of the people there, they asked us like, "Hey, anybody want to help me out with a thing in here?" It's like, "Sure, I'll help you out." And ended up doing an Estes method session with her where I was the person wearing just the headset, repeating back whatever the spirit box, whatever I heard out of the spirit box.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was actually pretty slow. I'll send you guys the video I made up. Well, is
that like that game? You played a game with spirit, like that game where you put headphones on and the other person like says something and you have to try to guess what they're saying, but you can't hear. So you did that with spirits.
Basically, what the Estes method is instead of everybody just having a spirit box, which is a little. Basically, it's a radio. It scans through different radio frequencies and just stops. And the theory is, if a ghost or a spirit or entity or whatever wants to try and communicate, it'll pick certain words as it's scanning through all the different frequencies as it goes, and you can kind of communicate with it. What the Estes method is it takes that a little step further, where one person has noise canceling headsets on and they're the only person that can hear what's coming out of the radio. And then there's a second person that's actually like asking questions and things like that as part of that, that side of the conversation. And the person that has the headset on just repeats back whatever they hear. So they don't know what the questions are. They don't know what's going on in the room. They don't know any of that others, because you have like a blindfold on,
Right.
all that stuff. Totally
That's
isolated. All you can
interesting.
hear is that. And I was the person listening to the headset there, and heard a lot of stuff.
What, like what?
Well,
kind of
the very first thing that I heard very clearly was, "Why aren't you dead?"
Wait, what? Why aren't you?
Why aren't you dead? And I swear it was a man's voice, and it was like, I swear it was like a comedian. It was like a bit or something like that, some kind of comedy bit, because it was super sarcastic. It was
How
like,
weird.
"Why are you dead?" kind of a thing. And then like 2 different like words later, it actually said my name. It said Enzo.
What?
Very clearly. I was like, when have you ever listened to the radio and heard the word Enzo?
That's
Never.
weird.
Probably one of your people, like one of your spirit guides or one of somebody.
I don't know. But my original, but mostly my big takeaway, the whole thing is because, and I'll send the link to you too. You can listen to it later.
Oh. Where'd you go?
But it took a while for me to actually hear anything, about like a minute and a half once we actually started, because the whole thing was about 15 minutes that we spent recording. The first like minute and a half is just me just sitting there stupid, because all I heard is that, if you've ever heard those voice box things where those spirit box things where it's just
I've never heard what it sounds like.
They use them a lot on these.
Is it like Bumblebee, like when he's going through the radio and talking, like the Transformer?
Yes, basically that's what it is. It's that idea. It's that same idea.
Oh wow!
And, but as it went on, it took me like about a minute and a half to where I actually heard something. And the very first thing I heard was, "Why aren't you dead yet?"
That's weird.
And but as an overall for the whole thing, I don't think we were really talking to. Well, I don't know that we necessarily. I don't think I was really. My takeaway was that I was hearing like one person of a group, and I could only hear that. It was like the 3 of us are having a conversation.
Right.
If you could only hear one of us, it's not going to make any sense as we're interacting with each other. And that seemed to be kind of like what it was. I was only hearing one person that was talking to other people, and other people that were investigating in different parts of the house, and various times. Overall, it didn't seem like any of them were really talking to us at all. They were talking to somebody else and kind of ignoring it. Happened to be like eavesdropping is kind of what the impression.
Right. So like you were eavesdropping on the spirit world, kind of interacting with each other.
That's kind of where I take away, because if you listen, because there was only really one point, I think, where there was like direct interaction between the person that was asking questions and what I was repeating. Because there was a point right at the very end, because she only wanted to, Patty was the person I was working with, and she was very strict. It's like, okay, we're only going to do this for like 15 minutes and that's it. And then we cut it off. And she was like the whole time, she was a trooper. She's trying to communicate with whoever this was, but there was never any direct communication. But there was one point where, hey, I'm trying to ask you questions, but I don't understand what you're saying. Can you answer just yes or no? And my response was, all right. That kind of thing. It's just, it kind of seemed like I was listening to a smart ass is really what.
Well, it was communicating with you though. If it said it picked out whatever for you to hear, right? But so something was communicating with you.
I know a little bit of what happens there. So only one of them could slow their vibration down enough to communicate or hear or you could hear them. So the rest of them were vibrating too fast. So it sounds like there was, well, of course, there's spirit around everywhere you go, but it sounds like there was a lot of them there with you guys, and not just the ones that are like tape recorders, but sounds like there was those there too. But so like not all of them could slow their roll enough for you to hear them. Only that one could.
Right.
Did you hear
Yeah,
anything else?
There was another thing that we encountered that was kind of outside of the whole Estes thing already. Well, before I say that, let me say they only like appeared to be like a direct interaction between the questioner and the listener speaker person. Me was when we got near the end, she was like, "Hey, we've only got like a minute left, and we're gonna stop this. Is there anything you want to say or do or tell us before we leave?" And I said, "Wait." And then there was a brief pause, and then it was, wait. Like it was like, and there was like this urgency towards it, like, but then nothing after that seemed to like connect to it. But after like that first like minute and a half of me just sitting there not hearing anything at all, and then it was just like floodgates. It was like bam, 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 bam. But in relation to what she was asking and what I was saying, there's not a lot of correlation. So I don't know if they just weren't listening to her or couldn't hear her, or like I said, I'm only hearing her, whatever it was, talking to someone else.
Did you guys write down what you heard though? Did anybody write down the things you said? Because it'd be interesting to go back and read it later to see.
I have a recording that I have that I made because I had my own little voice recorder thing that I had connected to me that played the entire night. So I've got like, I still haven't listened to all of it. It's like
cool.
Almost 10 hours worth of audio I haven't gone through. But I specifically isolated that part since I was directly involved with it. And there's one point where I heard in the background what sounded like maybe dogs barking. I think it might have been, we had one person that in our group that she was kind of loud, nothing against her. She's a very nice person, but she was like downstairs and like, it may have been her either laughing or there was a dog barking. But when we did the whole thing, she taps me on the knee that, to indicate that we're done. I took the whole stuff off and we listened to her recorder, which was, just a handheld device like this. So you've got this little tiny speaker, which isn't the best audio, to be fair. But for anything this size, even if I played this one, even though this one's okay, you're still listening to a tiny speaker. But we listened to the whole thing back. I'll get into that later. But we listened to the whole thing back, and it's like, wow, there was some weird stuff in there. I don't know. And then we went downstairs, and most of the group was in the dining room area, just sitting around the dining room table. We started chatting with them. They're like, "Oh, let's hear what you got. Maybe we can, we'd like to hear it." So we started playing it for them. And there's a part near the end where we had just listened to it 10 minutes earlier. Mm-hmm. And towards the end, you can certainly hear on her recording that it sounded like a baby fussing or getting ready to cry, kind of just kind of a sound.
That's weird.
And as it turns out, that particular room we were in was a nursery at one point in the distance past, kind of a thing, turn of the century.
That's weird.
Now, we had just listened to that thing 10 minutes or so earlier. We never heard that, but it was on her same machine, same recording. She was just hitting play for the second time for everybody else. And it was clearly there. And on mine, I didn't hear that at all. Because I had this get up on where this was just basically just sitting like this. I had this photographer's vest, which has a bunch of pockets and little pouches and stuff on it. And I had this just kind of like stuck there. So it was sticking out in the open. So it wasn't like rubbing against my shirt or any of that other stuff. So it was sitting out kind of in the open like this the whole time as we were listening to prevent interference. But that's where I pulled the whole thing from. But on her recorder, there was clearly a sound that neither of us made that we didn't hear on the original view in the same room. But when we played it later, there was this new sound on it. It's like, where did that come from? And it was about like 10 minutes afterwards. We finished listening to that at the dining room table, and we're just kind of chatting amongst ourselves about how someone else had a similar sounding thing where they listened to the recording, didn't hear anything odd. They played it back for somebody else, and there was way more to it than when they originally listened to it. So there's something else going on there that was weird. And as a side, one of the weirder things for me was while they were talking there at the table, I was just kind of off to the side listening. I heard through my ears what I heard this like really loud scream, like a bobcat scream. It sounded like an animal. It didn't sound like a human or a baby or anything like that. It sounded it sounded like some kind of cat, a bobcat or something like that. And it was really loud. And I'm looking around, and honestly, I thought someone else had their recording and it was playing whatever that screaming sound was.
Oh.
And everybody else did not react at all. Like they didn't even hear it.
Whoa, how weird.
And I haven't been able to, because like I said, there's like 10 plus hours of recording on here. I haven't found that particular part yet.
Right.
I had to actually order some like new headsets so I can listen to this properly. So I'm kind of waiting on that.
Yeah, that's weird.
But it was, and I was, because I'll be able to find it easily, because I was like, did anybody just hear like a screaming sound? Like, no. Everybody at the table was like, no. And this was like really loud. Like it was somebody like standing right behind, like someone. It sounded like someone had a recording of a screaming cat kind of a sound, the screeching cat sound, and was playing it right behind my head. It was loud, and nobody else heard it. I hope it's on there just so I don't look like a crazy person.
Right. Well, I'm interested to know what else you said. You should write down what you said when you go back and listen to it. Because what if somebody was giving you a message to give to everybody?
Oh, I'll send you that. And I ran it through like this AI thing that auto put all of the words that we're saying. So it'll be down at the bottom of the screen when you see it.
Oh, okay.
So you'll see the text. I actually went through and edited a few things because it didn't come out super clear. There's one part where I said something and it came up as a different word, but it's like, that's not what I said. So I went back and changed it.
Right.
Final video. So I'll send you that here in a little while.
Okay. Did you hear different voices, or was it like all the same sounding voice?
The first few minutes of getting voices, it was that same guy's voice, that same comedian joking kind of thing. Like when they said, the very first thing, why aren't you dead yet? And a couple other things. And then they said my name. And it was shortly after that. It always seemed to be a female voice after that.
That's interesting.
There was nothing against Patty, who was the person that was there with me in the room. She's strictly a ghost person. And before when we first got into the place, we were kind of talking to each other, introducing each other. And they asked me, it's like, so have you ever been here before? It's like, I've never been in any haunted house before because I'm a UFO guy.
Right.
What? So I had to tell them the whole, I'm a UFO guy story about all of that. And I believe all of the supernatural type stuff, where all your UFO stuff, your cryptid stuff, your ghost stuff, all might be from the same source. I think they're all interrelated somehow.
Right.
I think they're separate things.
Right.
Which is why I was there. I was mostly there to observe everybody else that has done this before, especially like in this particular place, because this particular place is super haunted and it's actually kind of famous. It's been on a lot of shows and those ghost shows and stuff like that, I guess.
Right.
The McIntyre Villa in the 1889 McIntyre, or 1898, the McIntyre Villa in Atchison, Kansas. It's about like a 2.5 hour drive for me. So
that's an interesting time period too.
Yeah. But a lot of fun. There certainly was some issues with the history of the house. That was my other thing, is I didn't want to know anything. I did zero research. I didn't want to know this is the place where the guy, self-deleted and fell off into the hallway and things. I didn't want to know any of that. I just wanted to go in totally cold, no history of the house or any of the people that live there or any of these other things, so that I wouldn't have like this outside influence. So when I went into this one room, oh, this is the room where this I didn't watch any other ghost shows that I've also filmed there, or any of the other stuff. So
Right. Well, that's interesting. That would be an interesting experience. I don't know. I would probably be kind of scared to do that, but I don't know. You never know.
I was never scared. I was never mostly just curious. I was actually just kind of interested because it was because we had some people that they had all the lights on in the room. They were like talking over each other. They've got like a spirit box thing where they're making, there's some back and forth on the spirit box, and then someone else is live streaming over here. Just a lot of like pandemonium.
What's going on?
Right. And then I would go to like a different group of investigators that were downstairs. They had all the lights off. Everyone's speaking very softly, and they're not making a lot of noise. They don't have any lights on. They're not making any kind of sudden movements. They're just observing in the dark.
Why do they turn the lights off? I wonder. Because like as a spirit creature, do you think that I would just wonder, like, does it matter if the lights are on or off if you're
well,
you know what I mean?
Part of it is they had like those little they're cat toys is what they're originally for. These little balls that when you move them, they light up.
Oh yeah.
On them. And they have a bunch of those kind of scattered around so that if something moves it lights up. Because when I actually went in to join them, I accidentally bumped the table, and one of them, and the whole table lights up like a discotheque. And they're like, is that you? Like, yeah, sorry.
Oh, right.
But there was an interesting thing that happened when I was sitting with that group, because I was asking them like basically, they were still having conversations. It's not like they were sitting there, shut up, don't make noise. No, there's nothing like that.
Right.
But it was this, these lowered tones and all that, because like two of like the four people that were in there had their own recorders, and they had like their own headsets on, specifically listening for EVPs. They're listening to the conversation through their recorder, but they're listening for things that we aren't saying, because they're like getting used to our voices as we're chatting and all that stuff. And there was one particular point where we're chatting about this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I had like the room we were in, there were two different doors left. One was like over towards where there was like a bathroom, and there was another one that led out to a little kind of like a hall area where it led off to where the dining room is, and a set of stairs going up to the second floor. And as we're sitting there chatting, and you're sitting in the dark, so you can't see that much. And we did have some lights on in different areas, but that particular room, there were no lights on, and you had light coming in from these two doorways is basically what it was. And I was looking out these two doorways as we're chatting, and I saw something move towards like where it was moving towards where the stairs were going up to the second floor. It was just this gray instant, just kind of like that, kind of thing. And the girl I was talking to, Karen, she saw me like sit up and look, and she's like, "What did you see?" I was like, I think I saw something move. And while I'm saying that, the other two people, the two guys in there that had their own recorders, they're all like,
oh, really?
This crazy EVP came over the thing, but it was one of those things where, again, listening to it on these little teeny speakers on their recorders, it just didn't quite. You can certainly hear where it was English. You could hear, the consonants and vowels and stuff like that, where it said probably 8 to 12 words and whatever it was saying. But it was one of those things where you had to put it on a computer or have a proper setup and maybe clean it up a little bit and stuff like that, because there was part of it where we had accidentally talked over it.
Do they know what it said?
I haven't heard back from him, but it was at the same time that I saw something move past the doorway and move like that. There's also that same group was actually worked in a different room on the ground floor, and they're doing the spirit box thing, and they're asking the question. They were doing open, they weren't doing Estes. And they kept hearing like this chattering kind of sound at first, like ding, 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 ding kind of sound. They're like, "What is that?" and they couldn't. And they're very good about looking around, trying to figure out, is somebody like walking really heavy and it's moving, because there's a lot of little like tchotchkes all around, and furniture, so all kinds of little things around the house as decoration. They couldn't figure it out, and then maybe like 10 minutes later, they're talking again, and they heard that same sound. They're like, it's coming from over there. And they go over there, and there was a small table that had like a 4 placement tea set there with little saucers with little teacups in it. And one of the teacups was way off center. Like it was almost getting ready to fall off the edge of the saucer. And the sound they were hearing was like something was pushing the little teacup off of, out of the little indent in the middle of the saucer.
Right. Oh, how weird.
And just prior to that, everybody in the room said that they saw what looked like a cat, something small, like moving on the floor, like just brief glimpses of like, saw it. And as it turns out, the next morning when we were all, the sun was up, we're all getting ready we're all going to go to this all-you-can-eat breakfast place, which was fantastic. And I actually saw the cat myself. It went off of like the bottom step of the stairs and zipped off the thing. It was everything that I saw was all like instant blur, no definition. There was something, I saw movement, and that's kind of it. But it was something very small, low to the ground, like it came off of the bottom step and then zipped off, just basically in front of a doorway.
All right, how weird.
So I guess I got to see the cat too.
It was weird when I was. Oh, why am I echoing?
I think Susie was talking. Susie was talking, I think, at the same time that you were saying something.
Oh,
is it better?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So no, I'm sorry. I didn't know. It confuses me when I can't see her face. So today when I was driving over to Susie's, it was weird. And this has happened to me a few times, but like today when it happened, I was like, okay, I tried to see what it was, but something flew over me, and like a shadow or whatever, like went over me, right? I don't know how to explain it. It was like a shadow went over me, and I looked in my mirror, like my side mirror to see like behind me if I could see in the sky what did it. And I saw the shadow go over the top of the trees, right? But I never saw anything in the sky. I'm like, what, why do that? That's happened to me like more than once, where like this shadow goes by and it like goes like real fast, but there's like nothing in the sky. And I'm like, what the heck? I don't know what that is. Like, is there like an invisible bird or something that's invisible, but still casts a shadow?
I've seen more than a couple of pictures on the internet of like a wide landscape where you like see a mountainside and stuff like that, where there's obviously a shadow of a cloud being cast on the side of this mountain in the distance, but there's no cloud in the sky. It's like, what's casting this shadow?
Yeah. I'm like, what could be that big that it made like it like was like a shadow? The only thing I could think of, because it couldn't be a plane, because a plane would be too far away, or it would be close, or it'd have to be close enough to where I would have definitely seen the play, right? I would have heard it or whatever. But it's like, and a bird would have to be a really big bird. So I'm just like, what is this invisible thing that flies? And it's also silent, because I didn't hear nothing. I don't know. It's weird. But I've never seen it where I've actually saw the shadow go over something else that's as big as 2 trees, like, and I very visibly saw like a shadow go over, and I was like, what the heck? But there's nothing up there. It was weird. Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like you wish you had like a police body cam on you at all times and stuff like that. That was actually what my intention for this, because to have this recording the entire time, because I bought a giant memory card for it. I kept checking the batteries. It was actually really great. It lasted the entire night, like 10 plus hours that I was in there. So it worked pretty good. But then, of course, that's 10 hours worth of listening that you have to do later.
Right.
But when you have something like that,
if you could have like a body cam and record everything all the time.
I've been looking into that. If I end up doing more investigations like that, you would almost need something like that. I
Oh
think there
yeah.
was, because I did have, because I actually, new to me is I had this action cam that I bought just before going on this trip with this turn this off so you can see it, with this actually folds out to like a stand.
Oh yeah.
And you can extend it, so I could have actually like stood this up in the corner or anything like
Oh
that.
yeah.
But it works okay. It works better than other action cams in low light, but it was just so, even with all the lights on in some of those rooms, it's really dark. I was starting to wonder if it was me that's like, am I going blind, or is it just really dark in here even with all the lights on in the room?
Right.
But because we did do a couple of other experiments as a group. They had one of the other groups wanted to do a Ouija board experiment, which ended up, which I know people,
That's
there's
scary.
opinions on that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. But as it turns out, they got nothing. There was zero response for because they messed with it for probably 40 minutes or more with no response.
Really?
But,
Except for somebody probably went home with one of them. No, I'm just kidding.
I haven't heard anything.
Yeah,
That was certainly in my hot
when
when I got home. I was certainly thinking about that. It's like, all right, I hear like super weird noises,
right.
And when they were setting up to do the Ouija board, they're in the dining room, and it's just, of course, right next to the kitchen. There was this like really loud knocking sound that would come from the kitchen when they were setting everything up. That it was like someone had a hammer and just hit it, just a solid hit on like one of the cabinets or or something in the kitchen, where it was just bam. And
wow.
that happened several times. And I actually went off after that to a different part of the house, but apparently shortly after that, there's a light they had over the sink in the kitchen that kept turning off and on by itself, by the switch. It wasn't like it was an electrical thing, like the bulb was going weird.
Right.
The switch that turned it off and on was physically flipped when
weird. That's weird. And the whole knocking didn't tell them, no, maybe you shouldn't do it. I'd be like, okay.
I had this thing running the entire time. It's like, all right, they're asking for it. I'm going to try and document it.
Right.
And it ended up being nothing. But actually, after that, a different group, again, sitting at the dining room table, they tried playing cards, which is another thing where they were playing 21, playing blackjack, where you get 4 or 5 people, you deal it out like you normally would, and they have one separate hand that's for whoever's watching.
Oh.
And one person would like look at the cards, and it's like, if I were you, I would recommend taking another card, or I would hold fast, or something like that. And they had like the spirit box running the entire time. Almost nothing on that. I had a couple of different gadgets because I'm a UFO nerd, and some of my gadgets, some of them cross over, not all of them, but one of my EV, or not EVP, my EMF thing I had was way higher tech than any of the other stuff that those guys had. They were like, I got tech envy from a lot of those guys.
Oh, like, really? That's cool.
What? I don't have it nearby, or show you, because it does way more than just doing that. It picks up like Wi-Fi and a bunch of other signals and stuff like that with it. But I actually did a little troubleshooting with the little spirit box thing they were using. I think had gone bad, or he said it was an older unit, and he used a totally different one after that, after I did a little troubleshooting on it using that. And they played a little Cards Against Humanity next. And they started getting responses through that. Like somebody would get dealt like they would take a new card. It was their turn. And before they'd even pick it up, you'd hear it says, human or whatever it is. And they'd look at their card and it says human on it.
Oh, weird.
It was pretty weird.
That is weird. That is weird. It seems like there's some kind of phenomenon. I mean, whether, like you said, whether you call it ghosts, or whether you call it whatever, there's some kind of phenomenon that seems to be going on that allows something that's aware or conscious to manipulate electromagnetic like things or whatever.
Yeah, it was pretty strange. There's a couple of things that I thought about bringing and didn't, and it's like, yeah, you're always full of, because I have like a night vision camera thing that I could have set up, because there's like a basement area that and an attic area that we didn't really do a whole lot of investigating, mostly because it was so hot. That was the other downside of it, is this house is not well insulated, so they had almost in every single room in the entire house, on the ground floor and the second floor, had those like cabinet-sized individual air conditioning units in there.
Oh yeah.
So everybody's recording has that hum in the background. You'll when I send you the thing, that's the hum you'll hear in the background is this air conditioning unit, because you had to have, because even with those things in every room, it was just enough to where you weren't like breaking out in a sweat, but not much more. It was still pretty warm in there because it was hot. It was about 100 degrees the day we did the show, or the investigation, when we started off, and it didn't cool off that much that night. So
I wonder why they should do some kind of like, because if spirits or whatever it is that manipulates electronics, if it can do that, and like the things that you hear, it is something manipulating like radio waves so that you hear the right words for whatever. I would think that like it can manipulate anything electronic, right? So like, how do we know AI isn't really a spirit? How do we know it's the computer and not something else, is what I'm saying.
my takeaway was, because from like my Estes session that I did, I didn't hear anything that indicated there was anything to do with somebody being dead 100 years ago living in that house still.
Really?
There was I'm kind of wondering if you couldn't use that same thing for, and this is not an original idea by any means, for like where there's cryptid activity or UFO activity or any of those. I don't think it's just a ghost thing, especially if we're going to go as far as my theory that it's all interrelated anyways.
Oh, like a realm thing? Like you're hearing people that are in another realm?
Yeah.
I think my working theory is all of it is places that have ghost activity, UFO activity, cryptid activity, is there's that thinning of the veil in that particular area for whatever particular environmental stuff is going on at that time. Right. So that we're able to sense these other entities in wherever they live. And they're probably doing the same thing to us, thinking about, man, there was this guy in a loud shirt saying all kinds of dumb stuff, or whatever. Right. Enough to where they certainly knew my name during the Estes session, which was kind of did creep me out at the time. But so there's something going on there, I think, where if that's what it is, then you should be able to use it in those other environments, not just a ghost thing. This might be able to be used for UFO and cryptid stuff as well.
Right. What if too, like, I don't know, what if like the earth and everything around us, like what if it like also records like everything, and sometimes it's just playing everything that's been happening? I don't, you know what I mean?
For the ghost side, they refer that, I think it's called rock memory, where a lot of the old houses from the turn of the century or before are made out of stone that's found in the local area, and there's something in the stone itself that may record especially a traumatic event, high emotion type event.
Well, let me go even further than that. What if many of the stones were in fact at one time not even stones, right? What if they were beings of some kind?
Jared, can you explain to us like your theory behind that? Like, how, I want to know, like, what is your idea of how you think they would turn from flesh and blood to stone?
through some kind of cataclysmic event. Like if you had some kind of an event that produced high energy, like a plasma, some type of like, so lightning can do weird things. It doesn't require something to sit for millions of years to become like, what's it called, petrified, or there are instances where things can turn to stone. You can make, I don't know if this is, I haven't tried it, but there's a way to make rubies in the microwave, I guess, if you have a certain, they're not like real there, obviously, but you can take elements and turn them into something else very quickly. That would, to me, that would make sense of all the rocks that, me personally, the rocks I've seen don't make sense if you take the way that the mainstream tells you how rocks are made. Doesn't make sense for the things I see. Not to me, it doesn't. And it's like, there's just a lot of instances. So like this guy, his Stellium 7 is the name of his channel on YouTube. And he has, like, he talks about how there's people that have broken open rock that they feel was like organic, and it looks like bloody inside. It's like red, like blood. Or, you know, like I found in Antarctica, right? I think I found on Google Earth, I think I found remnants of like a giant crab. Because you can see, it's a rock, but you can see the meat on the inside and you can see the shell on the outside. It's the only thing I could think of that's shaped like that. And it looks like something broke up the crab legs, because I found a pincher, right? I found a rock pincher, a pincher rock, whatever. And then there's all these pieces of the leg, and the meat is like still in there inside the shell, but it's like a stone or whatever. And then I found a bunch of turtles like that on Google Earth on Antarctica too. Turtle shells and just turtles and turtle heads. And it's like
a lot of organic things, like the meats on the bodies of things and like some bones. I don't know how they could transform.
Well, so here's what his theory is, right? He calls it the boiled egg theory or something. So if conditions are different, right? Under certain conditions, under high pressure, like if you put bones in a pressure cooker, eventually they will become gelatinous, right? So if you have high pressure, things can change or be different. So his theory is that since all organs, he said, are encased in like a sack, in a way, like a fatty sack, and like a fluid or whatever. And then right, and the heart, because he's finding all these rocks that he believes are hearts, and there's just a lot of them. So he is like, why am I just finding organs and not like bones or whatever? So he thinks that that the reason is that whatever event happened, that it turned it to stone, but the outside of the body or whatever was destroyed through whatever process was happening in the cataclysm. And that the heart, maybe it just wound up getting petrified before it was destroyed, because it's inside your chest cavity, and then it's also inside of another thing. So it might not like get destroyed like the rest of the body does. But that's his theory. My thing is, how many things can look like something and like really, really look like something, and then like you break open the rock and it like still very much looks like. So how many things can be like that before you go, okay, well maybe it's that? You know what I mean? Just because mainstream science says that everything worked a certain way, I'm sorry, but how many times and how many things has mainstream science been wrong about? You know, like my daughter just had that assignment where they're asking like, is this pseudoscience or science? Well, I don't know. One of them was like asteroids. I thought asteroids was science. And are you saying you know what I mean? So to me, I go off of like, I believe that there is a lot of rocks that are like, they need to have a new field like called biogeology or something. I really think that they do. Like the way, you know how they compartmentalize everything. So like with doctors, there's all these different doctors. Instead of having a doctor over the whole body, you have like a kidney specialist and nobody tries. They're not taught to like learn about everything and the system and how it works together as a whole. They're just taught to learn about their little part. But if geologists were also very familiar with because this guy's a chiropractor, right? So he is familiar with anatomy. So that's why he's like, okay, this is weird. Why is there all these rocks that look like, so I have so many different things that match. It's like over 50 points that are the same. Like it's a lot. So I don't know. I go off of what seems to make sense rather than what I'm just told to believe. Yeah.
Oddly enough, just last night, I actually was thinking of you two when I watched this video. The title of the video on YouTube, I actually have it up right here. We can look a little bit at a little bit of it if you want. But it's called Breaking Open Grandma's Sandstone Rock from 45 years ago. Fossil inside, which it turns out there is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just this big round rock that she's had forever. There was something about it. She just held on to it when she found it as a kid. And they decided, and I guess over a period of the years, small cracks started forming on the outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided to get the rock hammer out and lightly tap around it. They were very methodical about busting it over. They didn't just go out and smash it with a hammer.
Right.
And as it turns out, in the middle of it was what looked like it looked like a crayfish was inside of it. But we could look at it real quick if you like.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's, I won't play the actual video, but we'll just fast forward through it. I just pulled up that. You can pull up the share. But this is right at the very beginning. You can see, this is the rock.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have a rock that looks like that. Oh my God.
That's why I was thinking about YouTube. But they tapped on it in several places as they were going, working their way around in a circle until they got some of these cracks started getting little chips in it. And they're like, oh, we're getting closer. And it kept going here to the point where it's almost to that point where it's ready to fall open. Tap it a few more times. Oh, I get to this part. Well, should play this part.
Ooh.
You can see there's a big fat crayfish right there.
That's cool.
Wait, where is it?
They clean it up a little bit here later on in the video. They used a little brush. They're being very careful with it on both sides. They're being very careful with it. But you can see some of the coloration for whatever it was that was sitting in there. But they believe it's like a crayfish or crawdad. They pick away some of the stuff. But it was pretty big, whatever it was, as far as that goes.
Oh, wow. Why did they think that's a crayfish?
I don't know why my closed captioning is in German for some reason on this video. I don't know why. But yeah, there you go. But hey, there's a picture of us.
Where? A picture of us? Oh. I have a rock kind of like that from when we were up in Cottonwood. It makes me want to go try to break it somewhere. We tried to break it. I tried to break it when we were up there.
They were very methodical about how they cracked it open. They would just, kind of like, medium taps all the way around it.
Right.
They could see along where the cracks were. So that you could see where they were getting a little bit bigger throughout the whole video. But Breaking Open Grandma's Sandstone Rock from 45 years ago is the name of the video. And if you want to go look at it yourself, but
I just think that I don't know why they discount. I feel like there is a very intentional thing for them to try to steer people away from the idea that there is cataclysms on Earth. And I think there is major ones. And I think it's just part of this process. And I think that they don't want people to think that because, well, people would probably do things differently if they really believe that things like that could happen. But there's no way, like layers of strata can be created in hours, and that's been proven like from volcanoes. So they try to date stuff based on like what layer of strata it's in, but you can't always do that because layers, I mean, surfaces can be completely changed in like second. Like liquefaction is real, man. And
Right.
if there's a certain thing, if something's vibrating, like it literally, I saw some videos about liquefaction, and it's crazy how buildings will literally just sink into the ground, just like it's like water. It's weird. And yeah, some of these videos, people are standing by while there's like mountains and stuff being liquefied, and they're videoing it, and they're all, whoa. And I'm thinking, wow, you guys are so dumb.
You're gonna die.
Right. It's like, is it really that important to get that on camera? Because you're real close there, buddy. Yeah, I don't know how some people do that when they're like, oh, check this out. Yeah.
I actually kind of had a feeling like, because after I watched that particular video that we just looked at, there was another video that I went down a deep rabbit hole on. There's a guy, I've seen his videos before. The channel name is called Ghost Town Living, where this was a few years ago. This guy, back during COVID, he bought an old mining ghost town where nobody lived anymore,
That'd
but
be
a
cool.
lot of the stuff is there.
Mm-hmm.
And he has full access to the old mine, to some of the old structures there. And and this particular video is because he found a lot of the old records from like the 1910s and 20s.
Oh, wow.
He actually found like a surveyor's like notebook on how they graded the ore that came up and how the processes they used. And he actually was showing how they used to do it because he found all of their old equipment and stuff just laying up there that had been laying there for almost 100 years. It's a pretty cool channel. He gets a lot of views. But this particular one was, I went mining for 12 hours and made how much dollars? Because the miners back then would go down in these mines for a 12-hour day. And he was just kind of curious, what can I make by doing 12 hours down in these mines? And it was like 2 hours at each of like the different levels that are in there. Because some of those levels are like 400 or 600 feet below the ground, kind of thing. And he gives a big tour of it. And there's a lot of the stuff that he picked up wasn't necessarily worth, industrialized wise, wasn't worth a lot of money. But it looked amazing. I thought of you too while I was watching this video, where he's got these giant chunks where just the rainbow of colors of all the different things, because they used to pull out of this mine back in the early 1900s a lot of zinc, a lot of copper, and a lot of gallium, which has silver in it. It's silver and zinc. Which they would separate out to just pull the silver out and throw the zinc away usually.
Right.
But giant veins that are like bigger than a person running through the inside of this mine. And you can see where they dug it all out by hand with picks and shovels and all of that. Back in the day, it wasn't very automated. They were just, everything you see in there for the most part is done by, guys swinging a pickaxe.
Right. Well, and I think because there's like cataclysms, and I think that there's a lot of things that happen that cause like stone, or that cause minerals to be created, or gemstones to be created, or whatever. And I think that a lot of stuff just gets buried and washed down rivers. So I believe that there's literally probably treasure everywhere. It's probably common. Like they just, I don't know. I feel like we're taught maybe that stuff is like, that you have to, but I bet you if we just all started digging there, we would find so many things, because I believe that we've been advanced before. And so that advanced technology, if they, or that advanced society, if they sunk and we just build on top of other societies, or if they melted or whatever, they had gold and they had all these things that they used for their technology, right? Well, all of that is still here. Everything that's ever been here is still here, guys. It's just in a different form, or it's buried, or it's like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. It just makes everything interesting to me. I think rocks are so interesting, and I think there's a whole world under us too that we haven't even. Aliens could come from underneath us, maybe, and out of the mountains. You never know, out of volcanoes or something. It might not be that you have to go in a rocket to get to somewhere else. I don't know. We live in a cool place. It's interesting.
Check out Ghost Town Living next time you're feeling bored on YouTube. There's some pretty interesting stuff on there from especially like this one where he was going down digging around actually in the mine.
That would be so cool to be able to buy a property like that.
I know, and he probably picked it up for a song because it was all abandoned and been laying around for God knows how long, because they shut the mines down, I think, in the 40s,
right?
Something like that. Because
they have a mine, they have like the Vulture mine here. They never found the mother lode in that mine, and like I don't know what happened to the mines in the Estrella Mountains, but that would be super cool. I wonder if there's more alien, like UFO sightings near mines. I bet you there is.
There's not necessarily UFOs, but there's certainly been a connection with caves for cryptid and missing 411 stuff around cave areas.
What's missing 411 stuff?
That's
missing for.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a guy named David Paulides that he's made this series of books, which have been turned into videos and movies or whatever, called Missing 411, where he shows this whole map of the United States where people just vanish, mostly at national parks, where under very unusual circumstances, and they either never find them, or if they do, it's like years later under very bizarre circumstances where it's like, how the F did this 10-year-old that went missing 3 years ago get 30 miles away, that kind of stuff, that kind of thing. There's a lot of strangeness to it. Now during when Paulides does his videos and the missing, God, what is the name of this channel? I forget. The Can-Am Missing Project or something like Canada, America Missing Project, where basically now he's fully admits, sure, there's people that wander off of the path and get lost and they can never get found, and normal or a bear or a cougar or something like that gets them, or they fall off a cliff and they never find, things like that. He understands that,
right?
But there are certain cases where there's like a whole family, they're out for their day, they're walking the path, one of the kids like runs around the corner, they go up to the corner of the path and they're just gone. And many other cases where literally they're like looking at whoever it is, they look at something else and they look back and they're gone, just vanished. It's
That's
like I would
weird.
have seen them running away. I would have heard them scream if they'd fall off the edge of the cliff or whatever the situation is. And then they find them, dozens of miles away, like up a hill, like up the side of the mountain. It's like, there's no way that, a small kid or sometimes, but usually not.
How weird.
Or they'll bring in like the search teams and like dogs and all that stuff. And a lot of the times for his like anomalous, his missing 411 category, dogs will start tracking and just stop.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at this couple behind you, and it's just this.
Guy's got his shirt ripped open. What's going on over there?
I know. She's like, they're And then this lady's all excited in the pink shirt. She's like, how funny. Sorry. People crack me up. That people actually dance like that cracks me up.
He's like, oh crap, I better put my clothes back on.
I know. What is he doing? Is that like David Bowie or what?
No.
Oh man.
But,
That's
that's
scary.
what
And I know that about national parks too. So that makes me a little tiny. I'm not gonna lie. It makes me a little bit nervous when I think about going to the Grand Canyon.
And
I'm
it's
like,
not
there's all
just
kinds of
national
places
parks, because he's done a couple of them. Like he has like a regular missing 411, then he's got, and this is just videos, which you may even, I think the original one I think is for free on YouTube, where you can just watch it, as is. And the other videos he's done, like a missing 411 hunters, where hunters go out in an area that they know very well, they're very familiar with it, or they go out in a group. Hey, I'm going to go over there. You're going to go over here. We're going to meet back here at this time. And the person just vanishes. They can't find any sign of them, that kind of stuff. Or if they do find them, they're like 12 miles away up the mountain, and they're like naked. They died of exposure, but their clothes are right there next to them, neatly folded on a rock nearby. Just super weird stuff.
How weird. I wonder, like, how does something happen like that to somebody? Like, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like there's somebody that watches me that knows that they would never want to kidnap me. So I think they're like, not that, nope, she's too annoying.
His most recent video is missing 401 UFOs, where he kind of commits at least a part of it, where there have been missing people, where there have been UFO sightings nearby, like as that person disappeared or during the search for this person and never found them. They recount a couple of stories of like a strange looking craft flying over that's got like an elk, just like for whatever, not connected to anything, but it's underneath, like it's a tractor beam kind of thing, and it's kicking and screaming and stuff.
Oh,
like
how
that.
weird.
He doesn't really, in any of his books or videos, say it's Bigfoot or it's aliens or they're slipping into another dimension. He never says any of that. He just, here's the case, here's the facts, here's what we know, here's what we don't know.
Right.
That kind of stuff. So he's fairly matter of fact about all of it. I still think there's some that could certainly be contributed to just accident. They just got lost. They got mixed up out in the woods and didn't know which way to go, and they just never found them. That kind of thing until they find their bones later on.
Right.
But there's a lot of them. Most of what he does where it doesn't make sense. That usually it's like a lot of that's like the Hunters show that he did. These are experienced woodsmen. They know what to do out in the woods. And they're familiar with the area they're hunting in. It's not like they've never been there before. So for them to it's one thing if you get confused or mixed up, where you're at, you can always just go to the old standby of just keep going downhill. It's going to lead to either a river or a road, and either one you follow until you find people. And
that's a good, I will write that down. I'll keep going downhill.
Yeah, don't go uphill. But that's actually where some of the oddities are, is because they find these people sometimes in like almost impassable areas, because he does have like some things that all of these cases have in common. There's always a large water source, be it river or large lake nearby. And there's also a large area of exposed granite, basically bedrock, that's also part, like large boulder fields and stuff like that, that also are similar for all of his cases, his anomalous type cases like that. And there are certainly for where the clusters are on this map. He has like a big US map with little, okay, this one happened this year, and you can see there's a pattern there where people are going missing in these very specific areas. And there's under unusual circumstances. So it's pretty creepy.
I think that they could. I was thinking about the World Fairs and the incubator thing the other day, and I was thinking because I heard that, I thought they were incubators for like preterm babies, but I guess they advertised that they could grow babies. And so I was thinking, well, if they really have known how to like grow people, they could just be growing people and like underground and like just releasing them slowly or whatever into the world, or like they could be taking people to like help with the breeding. They could be breeding like that'd be a really good movie premise where somebody like they've been breeding like an army of people underneath us. They just come out of the ground one day and they're all like, we're gonna take your stuff. I don't know. It's a weird theory. Maybe I believe that there's all kinds of underground stuff going on, so that could be another missing thing.
Well, here you go, Susie. If you could pull up that share that I just pulled up.
Okay.
The top map, the top map, and this is not high resolution by any means, but this is the indicator of where people have gone missing that fall under his anomalous missing 411 category across the United States. The map below that are major cave entrances or cave systems also in the United States.
Oh yeah, there's definite correlation there.
Right.
You know what's interesting though is like there's a whole lot of missing people in California, but there's not a whole lot of caves and stuff over there, so that's weird, right? Is that what that's saying?
Well, like this area,
Yeah,
would be this area. So there are, because you've got limestone caves, lava caves, which the lava stuff is mostly up here in the Northwest, although you do have a few down here in Arizona, to be fair.
yeah. It looks like nobody goes anywhere, or nothing happens to anybody in the middle up there at the top.
Yeah, where I live,
Right. So everybody, we should all live there. That's where it's safe, I guess.
Well, then you got to deal with the tornadoes, like I do. So
Oh yeah.
pick your poison. Which one's it going to be? Get randomly whisked off to another dimension, or get hit by a tornado.
Do you know where you are in relation to the New Madrid fault line?
The New Madrid falls over here.
Oh, okay.
This area, it basically follows more along the lines of the Mississippi River kind of area, which is over here.
Oh, okay.
So New Madrid's like right around in this area, around where Western Kentucky, Western Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, that region is around where your New Madrid area is. Oddly enough, during my time in the Air Force, we did have like this giant, because there's a plan for the way that the government does stuff is they have a plan or a simulation for everything.
Oh yeah, I know. They do.
Possible crazy ass. They have stuff for if there's a meteorite impact. They have stuff if there's a nuclear war. They have stuff. And I actually partook in an exercise where the New Madrid busted loose, where there were mass casualties, where there's thousands of people that had gotten injured in this part of the country, and they evacuated all the way into this part of the country where I live.
Really?
Was what the scenario was. So basically,
when was that? What year was that?
Oh, this would have been 2008 or so. It was an exercise. It was mostly in the books kind of thing. We did have a couple of like aircraft that came in, and basically it was basically a more expanded mass casualty exercise, where there's a massive problem that happens over there, and they're evacuating to where you are. So you have to be ready to accept very different aircraft or vehicles, land vehicles that you're not used to seeing in your area, and how to deal with the onslaught of injuries and stuff like that from people. So that was basically what our exercise was, is to because we did have like I think it was a C-130 that came in and it parked in a very specific area, and they had simulated people, which they were actual people, but they were pretending to be injured.
Hurt.
They had, they might have like the ace bandage wrapped around their arms, like, yeah, my arm's broken or whatever it is. Really basic stuff. This isn't a Hollywood production. There wasn't any. Because we've learned not to do that, because we did have an exercise where the exercise was that an aircraft crashed during an air show, which, by the way, we have one in 2 weeks. And they had to deal with, the local civilian population. It was basically
There was real.
Is they ended up taking people from the scene, the crash scene, to local hospitals as they were received, as they were processed at the scene, like you would do in a real situation. It was exercise that. And there was one person that had like the fake makeup stuff on, like they had been injured, and they had like a head injury and a bunch of other stuff that was wrong with them. And they get wheeled in on a gurney. And the first thing they said as soon as they got into this little area was they jammed a real live IV into his arm. They're like, wait a minute.
Oh no.
Oh no, stop. Get this
Right?
thing out of my arm. What the hell are you doing? This is a game, lady. Calm down. So,
That's crazy.
but yeah, they practice a lot of stuff like that. So as far as the New Madrid thing, that's in the books. They know how to do. They certainly know the procedure of what they would do if a worst case scenario kind of thing like that would happen.
I found a military document that I actually saved it. And it was a thing on urban warfare. And it was the scenario that was being brought about or whatever was for 2024. And it was very interesting. Yeah. And I was like, what kind of paper is this? It was talking about how like they can use different like people in different ways for like, as I don't know, it was weird. It was a very strange document. I'll have to find it and show it to you guys some other time though, not on the show, because that's probably not.
I want to know.
I don't know if it's allowed. I found it. I just don't know if it was. That means it's shareable, right? I'm just kidding. I don't want to get in trouble. Yeah, it is good that they practice things like that though, because
yeah, it's surprising the things that they have that they practice, but it's one of those that you have, even if it's just they refer to it as like a tabletop exercise where they don't have actual people in planes flying out to different areas, and they don't have people in makeup going to hospitals or anything like that.
Right.
But it'll be where they have all the department heads for this guy's going crazy.
I know.
But
he's like getting down.
He loves games.
Where they would basically they would simulate that part of it, but they would certainly have all the department heads all around like one big table, and they're like, okay, here's the situation. How would you handle if an airplane came in and dumped off 50 people all at one time? Do you have the bedding for it? Do you have the space for it? Do you have the number of people that would be required to deal with that many people coming in at the same time? It's a yes or no, or it depends, and blah blah blah. Basically it's a preparation type of exercise for that level, which is the most minimal level. Then, like I said, there's other ones where we set, for like the aircraft crash one, where we were dealing with the civilian part here in Wichita. We had smoke pots and we had all kinds of stuff going off, so that this is a plane crash. And I was an inspector kind of a thing. I was working in the safety office at that time. So I had this little vest on identifying me as a safety guy. And I had, Wichita PD, regular Wichita PD come up. It's like, I was told to come over here. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. It's like, all right, here's the scenario. You just got a radio call that an aircraft crashed right there where that big smoking thing is. And all of these people over here that are screaming are all injured people. How are you going to handle it? What do you do if this was a real situation? And that's really what it is. And
I don't know
some
why they
people get
don't.
carried away, but
I don't know why there's not more preparation for like natural or like, I don't know. I feel like the world feels like just because something hasn't happened necessarily in our lifetime, people just think that like it's never like everybody just thinks the world's just gonna go like on for regular, like with nothing happening.
Well,
and I'm like, no. I don't think it's gonna
to
go
be
like
fair,
that.
a lot of these things go on, and the regular public doesn't even know anything about it. Like
Right.
the simulation where we had the the aircraft crash and how the local PD and local fire department and local hospitals and stuff interact with it. It was mostly for them, for their thing of how their responses.
Right.
And there was like a 5-minute blurb on the nightly news, and that was it.
Right.
The regular people going about their day had no idea that was going on until they saw the 5-minute blurb on TV that night. So these things do happen a lot, and it's all dependent on where they like. Where I live, we got a big airport here, but there's several airports in the local area. We do have air shows periodically, so that is the catastrophic worst case scenario kind of a thing. Can you handle it if something happened? That kind of a deal.
Right.
And there are different parts of the country. Like I'm sure there's places in the country where they're downstream of where a dam is. Worst case scenario, there's a monster earthquake and the dam bursts open. What are you going to do? How can you handle it? What's your next action? That kind of thing. It's those kind of scenarios that are those, obviously that's very specific to a very specific area. Like where I live, there's no dammed up stuff anywhere where that's not an issue. So I would never have to practice that. However, where I live, there are tornadoes. And we do practice that kind of stuff fairly often, at least once a year, if not more, of what to do, how to do it, where to go, all of that stuff. So
when I was doing an open house the other day, a lady came in and she was an insurance adjuster, or she did like property insurance. And so I was just asking her about like places like Jerome, because remember, I was like, I don't know. I wonder like how these guys have property insurance or whatever, when like the whole city's like sliding down the mountain or whatever. And she said, well, actually in Florida, she said, we have to have, if you live in an area where you have to have a sinkhole inspection, then you have, and I was like, so people actually will still buy a house even though they're in an area that requires a sinkhole? Because I'd be like, okay, never mind, I don't want that house. Like I don't want a house where they have to inspect and make sure it's not going to fall through the ground.
There's some people that because like when it comes to like buying property like that, there's like very specific maps for like where the rivers are, where the creeks are, and the U.S. Geological Society has to do, worst case scenario where there's every 100 years, there's a dramatic flood. How big is this creek or river or whatever going to get? Where is it going to go up to on the property line? And you'll see that if you buy like a larger piece of property that has, a body of water that runs through it like that, there will be lines on there. It's like 100-year flood line is here.
Right. Right.
So don't build your house there if you plan on and there's some people that are like, it's cheap property because it's a flood zone. And they're like, I'm not going to live for 100 years. I'm only going to be here for 20 years. So that's fine. I'm going to roll those dice. And that's how it works out. It's, part of, the part, not to get political or point fingers or any of the other stuff, but for the climate change stuff where they're like, storms are getting worse. There's so much more property damage when storm hit. No, there's just a lot of people building more shit where these storms happen, and they don't happen that often because we went through a year where we didn't have a lot of storms. So they're like, we're going to build a casino here. And then suddenly it gets blown away by a hurricane that happens only every 50 or 100 years. And oh no.
Right. Yeah. I think climate change is because the climate changes, because it's normal.
We've been on a warming trend for the last 12,000 years. So,
it's a cycle. Right. It's like this cycle.
Right.
The Earth
you
has
know,
a cycle.
do
It's like
humans
everything-
have they attributed to that as far as a worst case scenario of things going bad and stuff like that? Instead of it happening in 100 years, it's going to happen in 75 years because of what humans have done.
Right.
There's certain, because if you light a match, you're affecting the environment.
Right.
Yeah, so if you're driving 300 million cars,
Right.
you're affecting the environment.
Right.
But the effect on it is not. I feel it's a little overblown for certain things.
Well, I think Earth is a living organ. And I believe the Earth is alive and it can heal itself. And part of the healing itself, it can get ugly in its cycles because it's healing itself. Just like, you know, how when your body, the way your body heals, sometimes it gets all like whatever before it gets better and it looks all like icky and it can, or if you got a bug in your stomach, you got some nasty diarrhea and thrown up for a couple of days, but then, you know, that's like the Earth is doing that.
Everything's in a
has
cycle.
diarrhea.
Every single thing has a cycle.
It's all, I just need a good night's sleep and shake out some of these dirty humans and like,
That's right.
yeah, there's like, you know.
Some of these dirty humans that are out there.
Right. Yeah, some of those people are having a good time, man, but they're really starting
Wow.
to clear out, I guess.
Yeah, it's what, quarter after 1 a.m. there in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, yeah.
So the riffraff I'm sure has moved on a little bit to the party outside, apparently. So,
Right, they're so tired.
I have a few seats way back here. That might be a motorcycle. I'm not sure what that is. That's the screen. I don't know what that is.
Oh, is that a motorcycle?
Yeah, I can see the tire right there.
Huh. Ooh, those people are making out.
They're kissing.
So I want us to go back to Cottonwood and check out that river because I bet you I'm going to find some more organs in there.
I know you want to find that big rock that has
The skull. I want to see if there's a
yeah.
skull in there. Yeah.
I cannot believe that just a random rock that one of you two picked up just down the street when we were out for that one walk there that last night I was there, and it had little tiny, bugs in it from millions of years ago sitting in it. It's like, what?
Yeah. See, and I think that there's rocks like that all over the place. People, aren't really, people don't care about rocks. I don't know. I have some weird rocks.
I think it's somewhere right here.
I just actually found some more of the rocks from then because I dumped out that orange bucket. So I got to go pick those up.
Those are cool. Is there some cottonwood rocks in there, Enzo?
No, this is the gift
cool.
of rocks that I got from that friend of mine in California there.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
There's a lot you can do with those.
Big hunk of petrified wood there.
Yeah, I want to go see the petrified forest. I haven't been.
Let's do that next year. We should all go up there at the same
we should.
Yeah.
And like the painted desert and all the colors are just super crazy. Like I don't even know what causes that kind of thing to happen. And part of that too, like where the painted desert's at, I remember asking my parents when I was little if we could stop so I could touch like the landscape because it looks like some of the rock, it looks like it's sand, but you can't really tell if it's hard or not. And it's hard. So in case anybody's wondering.
And some of them and they crumble.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I don't know. I think that most rocks were probably some kind of something at one time. So I'm like, I think we might live on the remnants of old, dead, petrified things. And I think there were very large things too. So I super duper believe in giant trees at one time. And the thing that I don't know.
Do you think Devil's Tower is a stump?
I don't. I haven't seen Devil's Tower, so I bet it probably is. In which movie? Is it flat on top?
Yes, it's a mesa in Montana. That's where the famous scene at the end of Close Encounters of the Third
That
Kind
movie that Mr.
takes
Ripkema
place.
was in, that he showed us. Remember?
Uh-uh.
It was in.
Let me
It was
just
one.
look it up.
It was filmed in one of our teachers' like backyard. Mr.
Oh,
Ripkema.
let me see. Yes, I do believe. Well, I don't believe that is a giant tree.
There are some
I-
people that think that it's a big stump.
I
and
think
that's
it's
why
a
I asked
giant.
that, so.
I believe to me, it looks like it was the giant part of a like a mushroom or something. But I do think that there's a whole bunch of giant trees, like the Superstition Mountains. A lot of the Superstition Mountains to me look like tree. But there are the ones that are flat like that Devil's Tower. That one doesn't look like bark to me though, that rock. But
No.
there are others that are shorter than that. They're not as tall, and they're also flat on top. I think that those ones, the thing that I don't understand is if it was a giant tree, what cut it flat?
Right, exactly.
What cut
Something
the
had
tree
to have
down,
sawed
man?
it off even like that. What did that?
Right.
Paul Bunyan?
That's
And the-
Like
and
what or who did that?
Paul
So-
Bunyan and his Blue Ox Babe went out there and sawed it off.
Right? It's like a lot of the petrified wood in the petrified forest, it looks like a giant or somebody went and cut the wood up or cut it like somebody was wood cutting and it got petrified because they're all, there's some of the wood, it's like
Okay.
logs. Yeah. And they're cut perfectly.
I
Like,
want to check that place. I've driven past it a few times now, and every time it's like, oh man, I wish I saw. And since it's let's see what time it is. Yeah, it's after midnight, so I can mention it again. If I had a van, where I could just sleep wherever I like, I could just stop anywhere I like.
right? Yes,
Yeah, Mike.
you could. I'm sending the van your way. It might be yellow though, so you might have
that's
to
the
paint it.
problem. It may be a bright ass yellow banana
Yeah.
thing, but I could certainly have one.
But you could get
Actually,
it
I've
wrapped
been-
though. That's a good reason to get it wrapped. You could get it wrapped in a Hawaiian shirt, Enzo.
Yeah. Put a t-shirt on your
You just make it
Ah.
camouflage Hawaiian shirt. So then nobody would see
Camouflage.
it. Yeah. That'd be like an oxymoron, right? To wear a camouflage Hawaiian shirt.
Hawaiian shirt.
Well, I'm gonna be getting off, guys. I'm hungry and I'd like to eat something before I go to bed. So I think I'm gonna make myself some poisonous macaroni and cheese from Kraft Macaroni and Cheese.
same anymore. Like it doesn't taste the same when we were as it did when we were kids.
No, but it still tastes good, even though it's illegal in a lot of countries and
Illegal.
yeah, you
It's
can't buy
probably-
Kraft Macaroni and Cheese in like Mexico or the UK. That's what I've heard. I don't know.
Is it because of the powdered cheese product or is it because of
Probably.
the macaroni?
I think the powdered cheese, and you can't buy like Lucky Charms there either. I don't think.
Yeah, and Mountain Dew, or Skittles.
No
toxic.
Skittles, huh?
Yeah, they're toxic. My favorite stuff is toxic. I go hard on the Skittles. Not good. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
it's just
surprised here in America they don't just sell like little shots of Red Lake 40 at the gas station.
They probably do. I'm sure that they do.
They're like, here, have you had your daily dose of preservatives today?
Oh my god. It's true. They
Uh,
do.
Years ago, I lost a ton of weight by doing like a keto diet. So I eliminated all the carbs and stuff like that. I'm trying to incorporate some of them back into my life, which is why I'm fat now. But my body cannot accept like pastas now. Rice I can do,
Really?
but I had like it was just the other day I had a little bit of pasta thing and oh god I felt awful after eating it and
God, that's horrible.
Really?
after an adventurous time in the bathroom earlier today it's like yeah I'm not ready for pastas anymore. Just you
Really?
can't do it.
See, that's so I've never had an issue with food, like any food that upsets my body, really. So it's weird how that, although I'm also a picky person, so maybe I just haven't eaten a lot of things.
I used to be where I've noticed this past year actually, because it used to be you could deep fry an old tire and I would eat it. If it was deep fried, I'd eat it. And this past year, my past travels, I would eat like fried stuff, and I would just feel like crap afterward. Just like somebody punched me in the gut after eating something that'd been deep fried. And with the exception of like French fries, but if it was like a batter dipped kind of something or other, or whatever, man, I just felt awful after eating it.
Well, did you know that oil is toxic after it gets to a certain temperature? I just learned that like this last year. I've known. Well, I didn't know that. I've always wondered why it burns my throat when it's hot.
But just that
like
kind of
when you're
oil,
frying
right? Just that kind of oil, but not like natural oils. Or
Peanut
what
oil is the oil that has the highest smoking point, so you can get it real hot and it won't smoke. But like vegetable oil, literally is toxic when it gets over a certain temperature.
It's carcinogenic,
Vegetable
right?
and seed oils are not good.
Yeah, I know, and I'm all the grocery
I like
stores
avocado oil,
right?
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's delicious.
What's delicious? Oh, oil?
Like deep fried stuff.
Right. It is delicious. I agree with you there. You know what is always interesting to me is that oil is like, why is oil soap? Like if you are washing a dish that has a lot of oil on it, it gets kind of like soapy. So like, I don't know. Is there a relationship between fat and soap?
Well, yeah. Isn't soap made out of fat?
I don't know. I think so. I think my aunt said that when my grandma used to make soap, she did something with the pig lard or something. So maybe.
You know what? I love your aunt's soap.
Yeah, my aunt makes awesome soap, handmade soap.
Really good.
Super, super good. Yeah. I got a lot of talented people in my family and in my friend group. I know a lot of talented people actually.
Next time we go, I'm gonna get a bunch more to last longer.
I feel like we could all run our own civilization, guys. We should get on that.
Well, yeah, we are. We are, and we should, and we're probably not gonna have a choice. Look at this one, you guys. Oh,
ooh, what you got there?
Oh, that's pretty. What is that?
Isn't it pretty? It's a fucking grain, dude.
I've never seen a rock like that before. That one's pretty. Very nice. I have my kidney stone drying outside. Shall I go get it real fast? I sprayed it with clear spray so it looks wet like a kidney. Hang on, I'll be right back.
The one that we found.
Yeah, you can't see it. Okay, maybe that might help.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, right. I think like we're all going to be forced to do that anyway. So like, get on it. We should get on that.
We do seem to kind of be at this weird crossroads of, well, we're all going to be living Mad Max, fend for yourself. Or
you can't really.
There it is.
Very
I
good.
recognize that, right?
Gross. It does look like a kidney or a lung.
Yeah, that's the fat. It even has the ports all and the fat in the right spots and everything.
That's so gross looking. It looks like a piece of chicken.
It does.
That's the first thing. As soon as I saw that thing when it was wet, I was like, this looks like you pulled this out of a body.
I know. It's so weird. And it's a great joke. So I'm going to take this to my next real estate mastermind and be like, see, guys, I told you I had a kidney stone. Yeah, I actually wanted to send pictures of it to the guy, the heart stone guy, and be like, hey, look at my kidney stone.
When Timmy was little, he used to pick up rocks that were shaped like hearts, like, like hearts. And I have a whole bunch of them.
Oh, I do too, because my cousin collects heart-shaped rocks, and so I have some I'm keeping for her. So, all right, guys. Well,
guys. Well, we'll see you next week. Have a good rest of your week, and Jared, I'll probably see you soon. And Enzo, we should connect this week and talk some more about some stuff that we want to talk about. Okay. So we will. Okay. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Everybody have a good night. See you next time.